authorized purpose in opening Crossfire Hurricane and did not find evidence that, quote, political bias or improper motivation was behind the decision to open it. So Kash Patel can say whatever he likes. He's a fairly inflammatory figure at the best of times, but we have to have some kind of fidelity to the historical record.
Well, we do know, though, that even if the Inspector General said that there was a reason to open Crossfire Hurricane, that there was tons of FBI misconduct in the actual investigation itself, including an FBI agent lying on a federal forum in order to get a FISA warrant to spy on Carter Page, including Justice Department official Nellie Orr allegedly lying to Congress, which a new document this week just showed. You also had the FBI using circular confirmation of public reports of the Steele dossier in order to verify the Steele dossier, meaning Christopher Steele would leak information to news reporters, and then the FBI would take those articles and say, well, look, the media reported on it, even though they were tipped off by Christopher Steele, so that means that the Steele dossier has credibility.
But let me just get in for a second, because you said there was tons of FBI misconduct. When Durham looked into it at the Trump administration's behest, he brought 3 indictments, 2 people were acquitted, and the one person, the person that you're alluding to, was ended up with a probationary sentence because he had doctored an email relating to Carter Page and the inquiry there. The reason I believe that people like Horowitz say there was legitimate reason to open the investigation in the first place, because there was, in fact, lots of genuine reason, getting back to the whole conversation with the Australian diplomat in London, all of these things that were raising genuine concerns. Now, that is why people working during the time of the Trump administration believed that there was legitimate reason to open the investigation.
Well, the Australian diplomat conversation you're referring to actually turned out was very much misrepresented when it was presented to the FBI as the Trump transition team official asking for Hillary Clinton compromat, when really it was the other way around. So I think that has been taken out of context.
It was the Trump administration official saying that he had heard that there was such material available.
Yeah, but not asking for it, and not...
No, but the Australian diplomat said, I was going to swear there. The Australian diplomat said basically, goodness me, this rival campaign believes the Russians have stuff on Hillary Clinton, right? So that obviously caused concern on the part of the Australian diplomat, otherwise he would never have reported it.
That's the reason to open up an FBI investigation, because someone said, I heard that the Russians had info on Hillary?
Well, I think that it is. I mean, obviously it was considered among the reasons that were to open up that legitimate investigation. That's why it was still, why the Inspector General, among others, believed that it was valid.
Isn't that kind of a circular argument, though? Well,
really.
This went to the FBI, and the FBI decided that it was important, so they decided they had to open up the investigation. But when you actually look at the material yourself and say, well, it's because they said that they had heard something about Hillary Clinton and opposition research, like...
No, I don't. Well, we just disagree. I mean, I think that it is absolutely valid to have done what they did.
Let's go into this point that Comey was making about what Kash Patel and Dan Bongino want to investigate at the FBI, including, quote, potential public corruption, including cocaine found at the White House, the pipe bomb placed near the DNC and RNC headquarters ahead of J6, and the leaked drafts of the Supreme Court Dobbs decision that overturned Roe v. Wade. I find all of these to be fairly reasonable things to investigate. What are your feelings on that?
It depends which ones we're talking about. The one that I think is most legitimate to investigate is the SCOTUS leak, actually. I think that seemed, just a peculiar thing that gets leaked before the decision is actually delivered. In relation to the pipe bombs outside the DNC and the RNC, the problem I have with that one isn't at all the investigation of them. It's that there's no evidence that the investigation was ever closed. So I'm not really sure what they're reopening. The understanding is that the perpetrator of those attempted attacks hasn't been caught and the investigation remains open. Now, in relation, the one I've biggest problems with is the baggie of cocaine or whatever amount of cocaine was found at the Biden White House. I don't see really at this point what the importance of that is, what would be proven by identifying who it came from or who possessed it. I assume, frankly, the reason is to keep in the headlines cocaine at the Biden White House and perhaps to try to link it to Hunter Biden in some way. But I don't, the idea that that is a pressing issue for the nation, I find that pretty ludicrous.
I want to know who brought the cocaine in, especially considering the Secret Service said that they found out who it was, but then weren't going to tell the public who it was. I mean, that feels like a cover-up to me.
I don't, if they found out who it was, they should present the evidence
Yeah,
to
or
where
they
it
had
was.
an
I don't
idea
think
at
that they
least.
should have an innuendo like that. I don't believe they ever definitively said they knew who it was, but if people want to correct the record in that way, by all means. The point about it is there was some cocaine found at the White House. Okay, that fine. I mean, people shouldn't be using illegal drugs. But like the idea that this involves or requires some new FBI investigation. The New York Times, as we were discussing earlier, is out with a story today talking about drug use on Elon Musk's part. Are we going to set the FBI on that? Presumably Dan Bongino and Patel are not going to.
Well, it is a little bit different having a baggie of cocaine just outside of the Oval Office than someone out in, private land, right?
Well, I don't actually think it is, Amber, because look, we don't know where the cocaine came from in the White House. In Elon Musk's case, we're talking about somebody who was serving via his Doge rule in a very central position in the current administration. So we're not investigating some minor historical detail, as I would see the cocaine in the Biden White House thing. We would then be investigating the behavior of someone who remains influential in a current administration.
But can we say that if we don't know who the cocaine belonged to? What if it was a top advisor to Joe Biden? What if it was Joe Biden himself? We literally have no idea.
But let's say, for example, it was a senior advisor to Joe Biden, and we then uncovered that. I mean, then that person would be guilty of a drug offense.
Yeah.
Well,
sure.
but what's the broader significance?
Well, is it not significant that someone who is advising the President of the United States on perhaps very sensitive or secure matters could have been under the influence of an illegal drug?
Well, do you think that's true of Elon Musk?
I would absolutely condemn Elon Musk if it was confirmed that he was under the influence of hard drugs.
So do you think the FBI should investigate the New York Times story?
Well, we have, like 2 anonymous sources and no indication that he actually took drugs. I mean, if they have something stronger than that, sure. I mean, in this case, there's literally a physical baggie and a cubby outside of the Oval Office.
That seems, with respect, a slightly more lax standard about Elon Musk than you're imposing on an administration that's now out of office.
I could tell the Daily Caller to publish a story saying that I heard that Niall Stanage was taking cocaine before he sat on the set of Rising. I don't think that should amount to an FBI investigation.
No, I don't think it should either, but that's because I'd probably sue you for defamation if you did that, and then we'd be in a whole other category. But look, I think, the Supreme Court issue, yeah, you can, the leak regarding Dobbs, I do think that was a serious thing, and I think that you could argue for that being investigated. The cocaine thing, I obviously don't. What was the other one that I've now forgotten? The pipe bomber. Yeah, I mean, I don't believe that's a closed investigation, but we should certainly find out who it is. Meanwhile, a CNN host has some strong words for the Democratic Party. We'll tell you more about that next.